Everyone knows the story. Soviet Union, superpower, Red Army, unstoppable, 500,000 troops, 2,500 tanks, then Finland, 3 million people, barely any anti-tank weapons. December 1939, and somehow a glass bottle filled with gasoline changes everything. The weapon that stops an empire has a name soaked in sarcasm, Molotov Cocktail. But this is not the story of a weapon. This is the story of how a liquor factory becomes a front line, how 87 women and 5 men handcraft 542,194 firebombs in 115 days without a single injury, and how Soviet Foreign Minister Vyacheslav Molotov's own propaganda becomes the joke that arms a nation. 200 civilians dead in the first wave. Molotov goes on Radio Moscow, says the planes are not dropping bombs, says they are delivering food to starving Finns, bread, humanitarian aid. The Finns are watching their capital burn. They hear this. They name the Soviet cluster bombs Molotov bread baskets, RAB-3 rotationally dispersing aviation bombs. Each cylinder 2.25 meters long, 0.9 meters diameter, scattering 100 incendiary submunitions as it spins and opens midair. The Finns count the bodies. They listen to the lie. Then they decide what drink goes with that bread. July 1936. Francisco Franco's nationalist troops use petrol bombs against Soviet T-26 tanks at Cesena, 40 kilometers south of Madrid. Simple beer bottles, gasoline, oil-soaked rags. The tanks run on gasoline with exposed refueling ports. One bottle, entire tank ablaze. Kuitunen sees the potential. Finland borders the Soviet Union. 32 kilometers from Leningrad to the Finnish line. Stalin wants buffer territory. War is coming. Finland has no tanks. Finland has 48 Bofors 37mm anti-tank guns when modernization starts in 1938. The Red Army has 2,500 tanks ready to roll. First attempt, glass bottle, petrol, cotton waste stuffed in the neck, light it and throw. 2 problems surface immediately. The burning cotton makes the thrower visible, easy target. The petrol splashes off the tank armor, runs away burning but does no lasting damage. Kuitunen adds pine tar, 20 to 30% of the mixture. 3 benefits materialize. The liquid sticks to the target. The mixture produces thick, black smoke that blinds the tank crew. The fuel burns hotter and longer. The weapon starts to work. 2 matches taped to opposite sides of the bottle with insulating tape. Once lit, the soldier has 1 minute to throw. The matches are windproof. They work in snow. They work in freezing temperatures. Spring 1939, Kuitunen publishes instructions in Sapper Technical Instructions, number 1, dated August 1939. The weapon is official. The Finnish military term is polttopullo, burn bottle. Kuitunen tests. Glass from Riihimäki Glass Factory. Multiple bottle types. Special designs made for testing. Final selection, the 500 milliliter 1934 alcohol bottle, 26.5 centimeters high, 6.8 centimeters diameter, glass thick enough to withstand match heat, glass thin enough to shatter on impact, aluminum screw cap when available, bake like cork when aluminum is needed elsewhere. The bottle is perfect. The State Central Liquor Factory in Rajamäki already produces it. Alko, state alcohol monopoly, the only company licensed to make and sell strong spirits in Finland. The board plans for production, 5 small bottling plants reserved for polttopullo manufacture, hand filling, slow. November 30th, 1939, 0800 hours. 21 Soviet divisions cross the Finnish border, 450,000 troops, 2,514 tanks, mostly T-26 and BT series. The Finnish army has 48 anti-tank guns total. Some divisions do not even have 1 complete anti-tank platoon. The Soviets are copying German blitzkrieg tactics from Poland. Coordinated tanks, artillery, aircraft, infantry. The Finns are outgunned, outnumbered, outmatched. Also, this script is researched and factual, using sources from Finland at War published October 2020 by military historians Ahti Lappi and Anssi Saari in the Military History Society of Finland Journal, and from the Jaeger Platoon Finnish Military Equipment Archive, with data from Finnish National Archives folders, T176, 74/19, and T19052, covering ammunition acquisitions, 1939 to 1945. Now back to the information. One veteran recalls in 1965, his platoon mate had been reading too many Buck Rogers comics. Imagine the look on his face, but these bottles have a target. Not the tank, the crew inside. Without ventilation, the crew dies in 1 hour. Simple metal duct carries most exhaust away, but some carbon monoxide still seeps into the turret. Solution, intake valve, fresh air portal. Mechanical ventilation system, keeps the crew alive, keeps the crew breathing. That portal is the Achilles heel. The teams wait in forests, wait in villages. Soviet tanks penetrate Finnish lines. Finnish infantry lets them pass through gaps in the defense, canalizing. Concentrating small arms, fire on Soviet infantry that follows the tanks. The tanks push behind Finnish positions. Isolated, cut off from infantry support. The hunter teams move in. Aims for the ventilation opening. The engine louvers, the rear deck grating, throws. The bottle shatters. The mixture ignites on impact. Gasoline, alcohol, kerosene, tar. Sticky, burning. The flames are sucked into the turret through the ventilation system. The crew compartment fills with fire, smoke, heat. The space is cramped. 3 to 4 men. No room to move, no way to stamp out flames. The temperature spikes. Ready ammunition is stored near the main gun breech. If the flames reach the ammo rack, secondary explosions rip through the turret. The crew has 2 choices: stay inside and burn, or abandon the tank. The submachine guns cut them down. The tank is neutralized, not destroyed, but stopped, rendered useless. The hunter team melts back into the forest. 41 reinforced concrete bunkers at Suma village, the gateway to Viipuri, Finland's second largest city. If Suma falls, Viipuri falls. If Viipuri falls, the road to Helsinki opens. The plant is civilian, produces vodka, makes liquor. Now it becomes the most vital strategic target in the country. If Soviet bombers find it, the anti-tank program dies. Fill ratio tested, 1/2 to 2/3 full. More empty space makes breaking more likely. The bottles are sealed, storm matches taped to the sides, insulating tape wrapped around the bottle body to prevent heat from shattering the glass prematurely. Each bottle handcrafted, each bottle inspected. 0 injuries, 0 accidents in 115 days of production. By end of December, 257,887 bottles delivered to the front. The soldiers call them Molotov cocktails now. The name spreads. New York Times reporter Harold Derry files a dispatch December 21st, 1939. The Finns have a rough, homemade weapon that they find very effective. It is simply a mineral water bottle half filled with gasoline, with a stick attached like a fuse. The name appears in print. Molotov Cocktail, a drink to go with Molotov's bread. The sarcasm is now international. 5-hour artillery barrage, 200 strike aircraft. The assault begins. Soviet sappers blow holes in Finnish wire. Anti-tank rocks remain mostly intact at Suma. But at nearby Munasuo swamp, 1 kilometer gap in the line. Finnish planning mistake. At least 20 Soviet tanks blow through on day 1. Pass directly over Finnish infantry and trenches. The Finns hold position. Let the tanks roll behind the defensive line. Soviet tanks and infantry fight separate battles. No coordination between branches. The tanks are isolated. Finnish hunter teams engage. December 19th. 20 tanks cut off behind Finnish lines. The tanks attack Finnish strong points randomly, aimlessly. No infantry support. No clear objectives. Finnish teams move systematically. Bottle to the ventilation. Suomi guns when the crew emerges. Over 20 tanks eliminated by December 22nd. The weather is wrong. The tactics are wrong. December 16th, 1939. Temperature hits minus 43 degrees Celsius on the Karelian Isthmus. Coldest winter on record. Soviet troops have cloth-bound feet, no proper winter gear. Hypothermia kills thousands. Finnish troops have skis, white camouflage, knowledge of every forest path, every frozen lake, every choke point. It does not change the course of the war alone, but it gives Finnish infantry something to fight with. Morale weapon as much as killing weapon. Before the bottles arrive, Finnish soldiers watch Soviet tanks roll through their positions, helpless, no way to stop them. After the bottles arrive, they have a chance. The psychological effect is massive. 1 soldier can stop a tank with a bottle, with fire, with courage. The Finnish word is sisu. Guts, determination, refusal to submit. 194 Molotov cocktails. 500,000 firebombs, handcrafted, mass-produced in a liquor factory, distributed in wooden crates to every Finnish division, every regiment, every company that faces Soviet armor. Finish them with gunfire. The tactic spreads through word of mouth, through observation, through desperate innovation under fire. Finnish 9th Division under Colonel Hjalmar Siilasvuo. Outnumbered, outgunned, but they know the terrain. Forest roads, narrow, impassable on either side, deep snow, subarctic wilderness. Finnish ski troops attack Soviet supply lines, hit and run, disappear into trees. The Soviet column stretches along the Rate Road. Tanks, trucks, artillery, soldiers on foot. Finnish teams create roadblocks, flip wrecked vehicles, knock down trees. Block the front of the column, block the rear. The Soviets are trapped, cannot dig trenches, permafrost too hard, can only knock down trees for barriers. Destroy piecemeal. January 8th. Soviet resistance collapses. 44th Division Commander General Vinogradov flees in a commandeered T-26 tank, reaches Soviet lines, GRU investigates, summary court-martial. Vinogradov and his commissar shot before 700 survivors. Soviet losses at Rate Road, over 30,000 dead, 43 captured tanks, 270 vehicles, 1,170 horses. 29 anti-tank guns, 300 machine guns, 6,000 rifles. Finnish losses, 900 dead, 1,770 wounded. Finnish forces capture massive amounts of equipment, Weapons Finland desperately needs. The Poltopullo helps stop the tanks. The Mahdi destroys the divisions. Massed artillery, February offensive against the Mannerheim line, 10-day bombardment, 300,000 shells, 14 divisions attack, 5 tank brigades, focused assault on 10-mile sector near Suma, methodical, relentless. Artillery pulverizes fortifications. Tanks and sledge-carried infantry advance as fortifications crumble. Soviet Air Force breaks up Finnish counterattacks, February 11th through 13th. Breakthroughs at Lady and Suma, Papias bunker falls, Million bunker falls, key defensive positions lost. The Mannerheim line cracks, not from Poltopullo, from overwhelming firepower, from reformed Soviet command structure, from sheer attrition. Finnish casualties reach alarming levels, 1,200 on February 12th alone. Some companies reduced to half strength. One company, 86 out of 110 men lost. February 15th, 1940. Finns begin withdrawal from Suma. Orderly retreat to intermediate V line. The Soviets capture empty positions, over 100 tanks and 2 divisions, assault abandoned bunkers. Finnish forces regroup. Mannerheim confers with his generals. The writing is clear. Finland cannot win a war of attrition. Soviet numerical superiority is too great. Fresh Soviet divisions arrive. Finnish ammunition runs low. 60 days supply at the war's start, now running out. Men are exhausted. 3 months of winter warfare. Sub-zero temperatures, constant combat, no rest. Strategic points in Gulf of Finland. Over 400,000 Finnish refugees must relocate. 12% of the population displaced. Finland loses farmland, timber industries, 100 power stations, countless farms, economic devastation. But Finland retains its sovereignty. Finland survives. 44,557 wounded. Daily loss rate, 678 men. Soviet casualties, even worse. Initial Soviet claims by Molotov, 45,000 dead. Reality, far higher. Research project led by Russian historian Yuri Kilin, 2006 to 2009. Databank of 168,024 irretrievable losses. Corrected down to 138,551 confirmed dead. Includes 135 prisoners who died in Finnish custody, adding sanitary losses of 206,538 wounded and sick. Total Soviet casualties, 345,089. Daily casualty rate, 3,842. Daily irretrievable losses, 1,320. Soviet tank losses, 2,300 tanks and armored vehicles destroyed or abandoned, 700 aircraft lost. Additional 200,000 to 300,000 wounded. Soviet 18th Rifle Division of 56th Corps suffers highest losses. Encircled on northern shore of Lake Ladoga, end of December. Hit and run attacks throughout January. Breakout attempt end of February. Lamenti Mahdi, wiped out. 7,677 irretrievable losses. 5,223 sanitary losses. Total casualties, 12,900 from initial force of 15,000. The bottles stop tanks at Suma, stop tanks at Righty Road, stop tanks across the entire Karelian Isthmus, give Finnish soldiers the ability to fight back, boost morale, provide hope. The psychological value equals the tactical value. A soldier with a bottle can face a tank, can win, can survive. The Finnish forests provide perfect conditions, narrow roads, dense tree cover, short engagement distances. The Soviets are forced onto logging roads, single-file columns, perfect targets. But when Soviet artillery pulverizes Finnish positions in February, when Soviet combined arms tactics finally coordinate properly, when overwhelming firepower clears the forests, the Poltopullo becomes less effective. The bottles still work. Finnish troops still use them, but artillery and massed tanks win wars, not homemade incendiaries. Thrown on top of a tank will ignite, and if you throw half a dozen or more on it, you have them cooked. Britain faces potential German invasion. Home Guard receives instructions for making bottle bombs, phosphorus bombs, sticky bombs. The Finnish innovation spreads. Viet Minh use Molotov cocktails against French tanks and armored vehicles. Saigon students during resistance against America. Ukraine, 2014. Anti-government protests. How to make Molotov cocktails becomes the most searched recipe on Google in Ukraine. February 22. Russia invades Ukraine. Ukrainian Defense Ministry tweets instructions. Prepare Molotov cocktails. Diagram of Russian vehicle weak points. Where to aim for maximum effect. The weapon born in Finnish forests returns to face Russian tanks 83 years later. 87 women and 5 men who worked 115 days without injury, who handcrafted 542,194 firebombs. Their names mostly forgotten, their work remembered. Other nations study the weapon, adopt variations, improve designs, add sulfuric acid ampules that self-ignite on exposure to oxygen, remove the need to light matches, safer, more reliable. But the basic concept remains. Glass bottle, flammable liquid, sticky agent, Ignition source. Throw at weak point, target the crew, not the armor. Molotov claimed Soviet bombers dropped bread. The Finns gave him a drink to go with it. The joke becomes legend. The weapon becomes icon, symbol of resistance, symbol of asymmetric warfare, symbol of ordinary people facing overwhelming odds. Not with advanced technology, not with superior firepower, but with courage, innovation, refusal to surrender. Sees Red Army struggling against small Finnish forces. Draws conclusions. Soviet military is weak. Soviet command is incompetent. Purges under Stalin from 1936 to 1938 executed over 50% of Red Army commanders. Tens of thousands of officers shot. Leadership decapitated. Military effectiveness shattered. Hitler sees this, decides invasion of Soviet Union is feasible. Operation Barbarossa launches June 22, 1941. German assessment based partly on Finnish success. The Winter War convinces Hitler that Soviet Union can be conquered. Hitler is wrong, but the initial German advances validate the assessment. Soviet military reforms after Winter War take time, cost millions of lives. The lessons learned in Finnish forests save Soviet Union in the end, but nearly destroy it first. Finnish memory of Winter War remains powerful. Every November 30th, remembrance ceremonies, memorials, the day Soviet Union invaded, the day Finland refused to surrender, the day civilians became soldiers, the day ordinary people stood against empire. The poltopullo is part of that memory, not glorified, not celebrated as miracle weapon, but recognized, acknowledged, the bottle that gave soldiers a fighting chance. The improvised weapon that stopped professional army, the innovation born from desperation, from necessity, from Sisu. The real story is 87 women and 5 men in Rajamaki, working through winter, building bottles while their nation burns. The real story is Captain Kittinen in spring 1937, seeing Spanish Civil War reports, deciding Finland needs this, starting unofficial project with no authorization, no budget, just conviction that war is coming and Finland needs every advantage. The real story is Defense Minister Nukkinen cutting red tape, calling Alko directly, ordering 40,000 bottles, trusting that a liquor factory can become weapons plant overnight, realizing that sometimes the miracle is not the weapon. The miracle is having something to fight with when you have nothing else. The miracle is courage to get within 10 meters of a tank, light a match, throw a bottle, wait for the crew, finish the job. The miracle is surviving, winning, stopping an army that outnumbers you 100 to 1 with nothing but determination and fire, reforms command structure, improves tactics, develops better winter equipment, better coordination between arms, better intelligence, better preparation. By time of continuation war, June 1941 to September 1944, Soviet military is transformed, still takes massive casualties, still struggles, but fundamentally more effective than December 1939. The Finnish experience forces change, forces adaptation, costs Soviet Union international prestige, League of Nations expulsion, global condemnation, embarrassment of being fought to draw by nation 50 times smaller, Stalin's reputation as military strategist damaged, Soviet myth of invincibility shattered, but independence maintained, sovereignty preserved. Finland does not become Soviet satellite, does not suffer fate of Baltic states. Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania absorbed into Soviet Union, remain occupied until 1989. Finland survives, uncomfortably close to Soviet Union, walking diplomatic tightrope through Cold War, but free. That freedom purchased with blood, with sacrifice, with innovation, with poltopullo, with every improvised weapon, every desperate tactic, every soldier who faced impossible odds and refused to quit. Cannot wait for better weapons, cannot hope for reinforcements, cannot rely on allies. The world watches, the world sympathizes, but nobody sends troops. France promises 50,000 soldiers. Britain promises 50 bombers, promises unfulfilled. Peace treaty signed before help arrives. Finland fights alone. Soviet Union against Finland, 500,000 troops against Finnish defenders, 2,000 tanks against bottles and determination. The numbers tell one story, the names tell another. Eero Kuitinen, Väinö Hanula, Juho Niukkanen, Gustav Mannerheim, Hjalmar Siilasvuo, Vinogradov, Timoshenko, the soldiers unnamed, the factory workers unnamed, the 87 women, the 5 men, the hunter teams in forests, the defenders at Suma, the ski troops at Rade Road, the refugees fleeing Viipuri, the civilians enduring bombings, every person who contributed, who fought, who survived, who died. Their names mostly lost, their actions remembered in aggregate. 25,000 Finnish dead, whose names are recorded in memorials, in church registers, in family memories. 138,551 Soviet dead, whose names compiled by Yuri Kilin in decade-long research project. Names that families searched for, names that mattered to someone. Casualties are not statistics, are people. Our loss, our grief multiplied by hundreds of thousands. That allows infantry to face armor without proper anti-tank guns. that provides hope when hope is scarce, that demonstrates human ingenuity under pressure, that proves improvisation can succeed against industrial military machine for 105 days against impossible odds, until the odds finally crush resistance, until peace becomes only option, until the war ends. Used in Hungary 1956, Czechoslovakia 1968, Northern Ireland, Palestine. Everywhere resistance meets armor, everywhere ordinary people face military force. The Finnish innovation spreads globally, becomes symbol, becomes tool of revolution, of protest, of desperate defense, not always used for just causes, used by criminals, by terrorists, by rioters, by freedom fighters, by defenders, by aggressors. The weapon is neutral. The users give it meaning. In Finnish hands, 1939, meaning is clear. Defense of homeland, survival of nation, resistance against invasion. The moral clarity is absolute. Soviet Union invades, Finland defends. The poltopullo is weapon of defense, of necessity, of survival. Invasions happen. Defenders improvise. Civilians become soldiers. Factories become arsenals. Desperate measures become standard tactics. The Molotov Cocktail returns to its original purpose, stopping Russian tanks. The irony is bitter. The necessity is tragic. The effectiveness remains proven. Glass bottle, gasoline, fire, courage. Against armor, against invasion, against occupation. The formula unchanged, the context familiar, the outcome uncertain. Kills over 138,000 Soviet soldiers. Holds for 105 days, then signs peace treaty. Cedes territory. Accepts harsh terms. Survives. That survival is victory. Not military victory, survival victory. The goal shifts from winning war to surviving war. From defeating enemy to remaining independent. From crushing invasion to enduring invasion. The poltopullo contributes to that endurance. To that survival. To that ultimate victory of continued existence. Rajamaki returns to vodka. The hunter teams disband. The ski troops remove white camouflage. The Suomi submachine guns rack. The forest's empty. The road's clear. The nation mourns. The nation endures. Finnish 9th Division faces Soviet 163rd Rifle Division and 44th Motorized Division. 22,500 Soviet casualties by American historian Alan Chew's estimate. Other historians cite different numbers. Pavel Aptekar, 4,000 dead and 80 tanks for 44th Division alone. Oleg Kizilev tracks dynamics of losses for all formations. Captures tell the story better. 43 Soviet tanks captured intact or repairable. 70 field guns, 278 trucks, 1,170 horses, 29 anti-tank guns, 300 machine guns, 6,000 rifles. Equipment Finland desperately needs. Equipment Soviet Union cannot afford to lose. Each captured weapon means one more Finnish soldier armed, one more defensive position strengthened, one more chance to hold the line. The poltopullo enables these captures. Tank abandoned by crew fleeing flames becomes Finnish tank. Tank stopped by bottle becomes artillery target. Tank isolated behind Finnish lines becomes trap. The bottle does not kill tanks alone, works in combination. Anti-tank rifles finish what bottles start. Satchel charges destroy what bottles disable. Artillery targets what bottles stop. The weapon is force multiplier. Makes other weapons more effective. Makes Finnish tactics more viable. Makes Soviet numerical superiority less decisive. Tank crews request infantry escorts. Request air support. Request artillery preparation before every advance. The confidence of November 30th crumbles. The expectation of 3-week victory vanishes. The reality of Finnish resistance forces Soviet adaptation. Purges eliminated the competent officers. Political commissars override military decisions. Fear of Stalin paralyzes initiative. Division commanders cannot adapt without permission. Permission requires communication with Moscow. Communication takes days. Meanwhile, Finnish hunters kill Soviet tanks. Finnish ski troops destroy Soviet supply lines. Finnish artillery pounds Soviet concentrations. Finnish snipers eliminate Soviet officers. The entire Soviet offensive bogs down, not from single cause, from accumulated effects, from terrain, from weather, from tactics, from weapons, from poltopullo, from everything working together. Allows repositioning. The smoke becomes tactical tool separate from incendiary effect. Some bottles thrown specifically for smoke, not to kill, to obscure, to confuse, to disrupt. Snow melts and mixes poorly with burning oil. The fire persists, forces choices. Abandon tank or burn. Most choose abandonment. Survival instinct overrides discipline. Tank can be replaced. Life cannot. Bushes attached to tanks. Same principle. Finnish response. Wrap barbed wire around bottles. Increases chance of catching on mesh. Increases chance of breaking glass. Innovation meets counter-innovation. Adaptation meets counter-adaptation. The technical evolution happens in field, under fire, under pressure. Throw bottle. Survive, crew emergence, repeat. Average life expectancy measured in days. But volunteers keep coming. Sense of duty, sense of necessity. Knowledge that nobody else will do it. That tanks must be stopped. That bottles work. That courage matters more than odds. Wait this long. Run that direction. Simple, direct, effective. The knowledge spreads through Finnish ranks. Every soldier learns basics. Most never use it. But knowing the option exists provides comfort, provides confidence, provides hope that armor is not invincible, that individual soldier can make difference, that courage and creativity defeat technology, for last-ditch defenses, for desperate situations, not wasted on random targets, not thrown casually. Each bottle precious, each bottle counted, each bottle tracked from Rajamäki to frontline to soldier to target, supply chain maintained despite chaos of war, despite Soviet bombing, despite winter conditions, despite terrible roads. The bottles keep arriving, keep supplying, keep providing options. Continuation. War begins June 1941. Germany invades the Soviet Union, Operation Barbarossa. Finland enters war alongside Germany, not as ally, as co-belligerent. Goal: reclaim lost territory. The Poltopullo remains in use. Production continues, but at lower scale. Rajamäki still produces bottles. But Soviet tanks improved. Better armor, better tactics, better coordination. The bottle, less effective against heavier armor. Against KV series heavy tanks. Against improved T-34 medium tanks. But against lighter armor. Against BT series. Against older T-26 models still in service. The bottle still works, still contributes, still provides infantry with anti-tank capability. Small capsule of sulfuric acid, surrounded by mixture of potassium perchlorate and sugar, breaks on impact, acid contacts mixture, chemical reaction, ignition, no matches required, no pre-lighting, safer for user, more reliable in all weather. The improved version enters production, coexists with storm match version, gives soldiers options. Different situations require different tools. Manual published. Sokaisu Pullo M44, Smoke Bottle Model 1944. Official military designation, instructions formalized, production specifications written, quality control implemented. The improvised weapon becomes professional weapon. The desperate measure becomes tactical doctrine. The homemade bomb becomes military standard. American military analysts write reports. Soviet Union learns hardest lessons. Post-war analysis details every failure, every mistake, every casualty. The Winter War becomes case study. Military academies worldwide teach Finnish defensive tactics, teach Mahdi encirclement, teach ski troop mobility, teach improvised anti-tank warfare, teach Poltopullo. The lessons spread globally. Influence doctrine, influence training, influence thinking about asymmetric warfare, visual proof of effectiveness, visual documentation of desperate innovation under existential threat. Defense Minister Nuukkinen's decisive action. The weapon worked, contributed to defense, helped Finland survive. The sergeant who taught new recruits how to throw. The lieutenant who led Hunter Team into Soviet rear. The colonel who ordered the tactic. The general who approved production. The minister who cut red tape. The factory engineer who optimized bottling line. The glass worker at Riihimäki who tested bottle designs. The match factory engineer who developed storm matches. Every person in the chain, every contribution, every risk, every effort. Building toward the aggregate effect that kept Finland free. Each bottle recorded, each bottle numbered, each bottle sent to specific unit. Bureaucracy survives war. Records survive war. Numbers survive war. 542,194. 542,194 bottles. 542,194 attempts to stop invasion. 542,194 pieces of resistance. Handcrafted. Mass-produced. Distributed. Used. Some effective, some not. Some stopped tanks. Some missed. Some broke before reaching target. Some failed to ignite. But together, aggregate effect, psychological impact, tactical contribution, all add to the equation that keeps Finland independent. Not the factory, not the 87 women and 5 men, not Kyttinen designing weapon, not Nuukinen ordering production, not Mannerheim commanding defense. The image is simpler. A Finnish soldier, winter forest, snow waist-deep, temperature -40, Soviet tank approaching, tracks grinding, engine roaring. The soldier has a bottle, glass, cold, heavy. The liquid sloshes inside. Gasoline, alcohol, tar, storm matches taped to the sides. The soldier lights the matches, watches them flare. 60 seconds. The tank is 30 meters away, 20 meters, 15. The soldier stands, steps from cover, draws back, throws. The bottle tumbles through frozen air, shatters against engine deck. Flames spread. The mixture burns. Smoke pours from ventilation. The tank slows, stops. Hatch opens. The soldier waits, Suomi ready. The crew emerges. The war continues. The bottle worked this time. This soldier, this tank, this moment. One small victory in war of attrition. One stopped tank among 2,000. One thrown bottle among 542,000. One soldier among hundreds of thousands. One moment in 105 days. But the moment matters. The soldier matters. The bottle matters. Because resistance matters. Because survival matters. Because independence matters. Because Finland endures.